career, I never used a guard on my grinder.
Right? So, oh, no way. You're this. Oh my God. I thought it was like, I didn't see anybody do that. It's like, it gets in the way. It just gets in the way.
I mean, it's easier when you're using it as a cutoff tool, right?
Yeah. Up until now I put the guard on there just because friggin' YouTube police attacked me.
Oh, even for the guard? I don't know what they're talking about, dude, honestly.
I saw somebody was working around asbestos, like the asbestos tape around ducts or whatever they do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of comments on it, like, you better watch out. You can't work on that. Call an abatement company. It's like, I never call an abatement company. Let's be honest. I mean, it's a bad habit. I'm not going to lie, but as long as you don't touch it, or if you do touch it, get it nice and wet.
When I changed out the system at my mom's house, she had the asbestos transit pipe as the flue pipe, and I just relocated it. I told him, you guys can get someone else to take care of that. I just relocated it, went to a 90%, vented it outside of the house, didn't have to worry about it, and just mounted it, in the attic, and left the transit pipe there, not touching it.
They have a lot of stuff, and there's actually different like ratings on asbestos for different.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt you real quick and let you know that I fixed my speakers. I can now hear my background music.
Okay, cool.
So, I'm so proud of you, Bill. Now, next time, don't ever interrupt me again. Cool?
Now, Bill, there's a few people we gotta say hi to, so why don't you get on that?
My mom. I gotta say hi to my mom, and then
watching tonight.
My sister and
Do we have to watch our language now?
I don't know. My mom's not watching.
Oh, son of a bitch! I was gonna say
they're not watching at all. Come on, dude.
St. Lucia in the house. Wow, cool.
What is this with interrupting today? People are interrupting me. You guys all need to stop. Just stop interrupting. When I'm talking,
that's it.
Talk.
I'm not talking the rest of the show.
All right.
Your strike. All right, let's get this show started here. I finally got my background music playing, so that gives me enough joy in my life that I can actually talk to you guys.
Wow.
That's what I needed. So
awesome. Anyway,
tonight we have a Mr. Nate Adams with us tonight, performance specialist, I'm assuming. I'm going to ask him if it's okay that I stuffed my walls with Kleenex over the winter because it was kind of cold and drafty. And then let's not forget, number one fan, Mr. Luke and his little buddy Randy. Luke, if you can hear me, bark white.
Oh, man. Hey, that reminds me, though. No,
that's the wrong button.
I don't know what it is, but I became a cat whisperer, and we have freaking wild cats that decided to make their home in my backyard, and they follow me around the yard now. So I'm like a cat guy now or something.
Did you kick him?
No. But my family's all like, "Ooh, they're so cute. They need blankets." And I said, "No, they don't
need blankets. Oh, wow. They're cats."
And she's like, "But they need food." And I go, "If you feed them, they'll never leave. Leave them alone."
And then you have to put them in a garbage bag filled with rocks.
Rock, it's a Ziploc, dude. You put them in a Ziploc and close it up, and it's problem solved.
I mean, what kind of big Ziploc bags are you talking about? I thought like a whole mess of cats, like a pile of cats.
I did find a huge Ziploc bag when you're brining a turkey. It's like 4 feet tall, so they do make them.
Damn.
Is that like a rich person thing? What's a brining a turkey?
That's a poor person's sleeping bag is what that is.
If you're like on Thanksgiving, you either buy a turkey pre-brined from in the store, or you buy an unbrined turkey and you could brine it, B-R-I-N-E, brine it yourself. Okay.
I just have the lady come and cook it at my house. We don't.
Oh. And he's talking about rich people.
Yeah, he's
Jeffrey. Where's my turkey?
I don't know what it looks like. It just comes on my plate. Oh, man. How was your guys' week?
Probably not as good as yours, I'm guessing.
I could tell you had a bad one, Bill. What's going on there?
Well, I didn't get to listen to my pre-show jams. That's what really bothers me.
Gotcha.
Due to all of my audio issues I was having moments before the show.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but no, other than that, I am in a fantastic mood now.
Good.
Sweet.
Since you guys are here, everybody's here. We got an excellent guest on the show tonight. We got a crowd of people watching, listening to our antics.
Yes.
I'm wearing my most favorite shirt of all time.
Yes. I'm feeling good right now.
My favorite shirt, right?
I wish
how was your week, Chris?
We're all supporting each other.
That we get.
That's awesome.
Except Joe. He just supports all of us.
Except me. Wait. I'm supporting. Hold on. HVAC overtime hat right in the background. You just gotta look. You gotta squint.
Hold on.
Yeah, you guys
I think I see it.
Yeah, I thought it was a Nike shirt at first.
Nope.
I'm gonna have to get my binocular sunglasses on so I can see it.
That. So I closed out my heat pump air handler. Yeah, the heat pump air handler this week. I closed that out. I was super glad to get that done. Construction company lifted it up there. I just had to hook up really, but it was just the logistics. It was 1 1/8 and then we had to do like 6 welds inside the air handler up on the 13 foot ladder, whatever it is. So that was kind of awkward, like laying on the unit and doing that. But once we got that done, I'm just glad to be done with it and sent the bill out today. So just be done. We kind of lost it a little bit. I underquoted it just a little bit, but we still made out okay. So
nice.
That was nice.
Nice. How about you, Adam? What's going on with that geothermal there? Did you finish that setup with that guy or what?
No, I just wired in all the just the zone panel. It's like communicating zoning and all that. And I don't have power to the unit. The electrician's got to bring power to the unit. So by next week, I should have them all up and running. And then I start working on the Tecmar setup for it.
Nice.
But today, I was working on a boiler.
Was it a leak? Was it a leak?
I love the accent, but
yeah, it was a nice Wild McLean. No, they had like probably a 60-year-old boiler that was in there. It was like a real long thing, and we took it out in one piece, and it was not fun. And it was like basement stairs coming up, and then there was a deck stairs. You had to go up past that, and you only had like a foot of room on the top. And this thing had to weigh every bit of 500 pounds. The new one was like 400 pounds, and it's just scary when you have that much weight that like you're dealing with,
I was worried about just falling through the stairs when you guys tell me stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that air handler that I saw the pictures of them lifting that thing up, and they were like suspending it from the rafters, and I just the weight freaks you out. I couldn't imagine just going up. Like, how much did yours weigh, Adam?
The one I took out had to have weighed 500. The one I brought down, it was 400 and change. But that's scary going downstairs with 400 pounds.
Well, the one you brought out, wouldn't it be easier to disassemble it?
It's very, very messy. And if I could not get away with not doing that, I'd rather not.
I imagine that it's encapsulated in all kinds of insulation and foams and different things like that too. And that'd probably be a mess trying to get all that crap out of there, huh? If you try to take it apart in pieces.
No, if anything, it has that like it might have asbestos in it actually.
Yeah, good. Like he's saying, yeah. But the black water is just horrible.
Yeah.
Black water.
So should we
you drag it out of there with water still in it?
No. I drain it, but when you break it apart, the sections, like all the guts and goo and everything on the inside comes out, and it just makes a huge mess, and it takes forever to clean up.
Yeah. You were gonna say you're gonna bring Nate. Is Nate there?
There. Let's bring Nate in.
Yeah, man. It's funny because I was just thinking of something I want to do, and I want to get his input and your guys' input.
There he is. How you doing tonight, Nate?
Good. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Nope.
Oh, wait.
Hold on. That's Adam. Hold on.
Nope, we got.
All right, you're on the phone now. Is that what you wanted to be?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
There's a.
Unfortunately.
All right.
It's okay. We'll deal with it.
Do you have the computer muted?
Make sure.
Or maybe you should just plug your headset into your. Well, you might not have a plug in your phone. A lot of people don't these days.
Hey, Shannon wants to know if you're Nate certified, Nate.
There you go.
No, it's
Damn Skippy.
Echo.
I'm Nathan certified.
You and Nathan are good buddies now, huh?
Me and AK.
You and AK. Hey, I had
AK
someone.
Reeves.
Someone today said that you reminded them of AK.
Who, that I did?
Yeah.
Well, F them.
I can't disclose the name of the person though.
Yeah,
So,
AK reminds me of Bill.
Was it Brian Orr? If it's Brian Orr, it's okay.
Nope. Didn't say that.
Okay, then well, yeah, F them right in the face.
All right. So Nate,
I don't see the resemblance.
yeah, I see it just a lot.
I mean, the long beard, videos in the shower. There's nothing crazy about either one of us.
I lost my shit when the video in the shower, dude. I was laughing so hard when you open the shower curtain and you're just standing there in your clothes, and it's like, good God, guy.
Did that all with a straight face? Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was,
No, I can't.
Mhm.
I lost it, dude. Even my kids, I made my kids watch it too. And then the whole photo in the bag thing again too, dude. I was cracking.
That was amazing.
Oh, I was surprised. Nobody there was only like 3 people that actually noticed that picture in the background
Yeah.
of that framed picture I had of you in the background of that beard video.
Right.
I was expecting like people that'll light me up for it, but only like 3 people noticed it. It was awesome.
Nope.
Because there was a part that I edited out that you didn't even get to see what I actually did to that picture when I woke up. What I did is I woke up and I looked at it and kind of winked at it, and I said, "You the man." And then I went on to the video.
Nice.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I was like, that might be kind of over the top, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I don't mind being curious about some things, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea.
Oh man.
So,
How the hell am I supposed to follow anything like that?
anyway,
right?
yeah, I mean, we can follow that up with. I was just asking the guys if it's okay that I stuffed my walls with Kleenex over the summer to help for the wintertime here.
It's gotta
What's
be.
the,
No,
yeah, what's the R value on
stupid
Kleenex?
idea. What the hell are you thinking?
If you pack it in there dense enough, like if you smash it down and then there's like literally 2.5 inches of solid Kleenex. Come on, dude. That'd be badass.
Yeah, I took a bunch of face masks and I
It could
lined
work.
my walls with face masks.
That's not
Face masks.
dude. Come on. That's not even going to do a single thing.
If it can stop the virus, it can stop the cold.
Oh yeah, let me know how that works.
I will.
Cool.
Oh.
That's actually that's pretty good. If you want a serious answer, I mean, the cellulose is essentially Kleenex, but it's chopped up newspaper, and that works quite well.
Yeah.
How could
Yeah,
it do
hell of a lot
newspaper?
cheaper than Kleenex. If you want to be different, knock yourself out. Do Kleenex. Although, if it ever catches on fire, may God have mercy on your soul.
Don't worry about
That'll
that.
be brutal.
I'll worry about that when the time comes.
Yeah,
I'm more reactive than proactive.
Yeah, I did not know. Like even Red Phantom in chat, and you just mentioned, I didn't know that blown cellulose was based out of Kleenex or
Well, it's
whatever.
not. It's
or
paper.
newspaper.
It's
Paper.
paper.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
sometimes you could actually see the ink on it, right? Like you could kind of see.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's fire
If you still read a
retardant,
little
right?
bit of the lettering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has boric acid in it usually, which is both fire retardant and a fungicide. It's also
Gotcha.
a pesticide. So, but it's pretty mild as far as chemicals go.
So this is an
ironically,
offbeat
usually
question
the
now that you
worst
mentioned
chemical-
that. Have
What's
you guys
that?
ever seen that those shows where people like eat Kleenex because there's mentally something wrong with them?
This guy.
Like, wouldn't that kill them then if they're eating borax and all these other chemicals?
Probably.
Enough borax should be bad.
So Nate, are you saying that it's bad to eat Kleenex?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
We can end the show right there. That's all I need.
Elmer's glue.
I'm glad you're satisfied.
That's it. I'll be right back.
So
Your curiosity is sated, Bill?
That's satisfied now.
So Nate, for everyone that has no clue who you are or what you do, why don't you give them a little, rundown?
All right. The easiest way is probably to say house whisperer. Where you guys are really good at looking at a box and seeing what's wrong with it and getting it fixed up and everything. We tend to look at the entire box, the house in particular, and residential's where we live. So you guys are all good at commercial. That still kind of scares me. So I'm not there yet. But on the residential side, insulation, air sealing, figuring out how to solve really complicated problems in houses. That's the kind of stuff that we really jones on. And so like mold issues, rooms that just won't get comfortable, which oftentimes is an air leakage thing more so than an HVAC thing. You have to figure all that out. And then most importantly, you have to bring the client along slowly enough so that they'll actually pay to fix it. Because if you move too fast and you give them a big number, they just freak out.
It's funny you say that because you're talking about obviously duct leakage, correct?
Well, the air leakage in the room.
Air leakage or duct leakage?
Yeah, it's usually building leakage.
System leakage.
Pretty much always. It's air leakage usually of the house. The duct leakage for northern climates isn't as important. Like down south, if you got ducts in the attic, you need to deal with that if there's leakage there. But Joe, you're in Toronto, right?
Yes.
Am I remembering correctly? Okay, so you've got the same housing stock we have in Cleveland. So lots of basements, pretty much all the ductwork's inside. The duct leakage isn't that big of a deal. And ironically, now that old new furnaces have ECM motors, if you seal up the ductwork, you're probably going to take a couple of years off the life of that ECM.
Good point.
Yep.
So it keeps life interesting. But if you can seal a house up some, drop its load, you can drop the size of the equipment, and you right size the ductwork by doing that.
Yeah, and that's what I was.
But usually it's air leakage.
You know what? You know what I found a little bit troublesome on certain duct systems, because most duct systems are undersized in the Midwest for the most part for what they have, the equipment.
Yep.
And from what I found, it's very hard to get. I mean, if you have a variable speed blower motor, you can get it to run on 2 tons, 2-ton CFM. You can get it on 1.5 tons. But like the constant torque motors and all that, most of the furnace manufacturers, from what I find, they're like 3-ton drives. So they're very hard to ramp them down. The constant torques, they suck. And it's just going to the static's going to be through the roof. It's really difficult to get the CFM set right. But you guys definitely deal with HVAC as a whole. You'll make recommendations HVAC wise, ERV, HRV, ventilation, dehumidification. You kind of get involved with all that.
Now,
yeah, we'll specify all those things. Although we do joke about HRVs and ERVs. If you don't need Samuel L. Jackson to describe how harsh your winters are, you don't need one.
That's a good way to put it.
That makes sense.
I don't know if you're aware, Nate, but over here they made it mandatory about 4 or 5 years ago. You have to have an HRV in the house. It's crazy. I guess because the house and
envelopes can be really problematic, though.
Sorry?
Well, they can be, but so that can be a good thing. But the other curse is oftentimes they fail early, and if you don't have an air quality monitor, nobody knows. But when you're doing the final inspection, he knows. That's the only thing.
No, but the point, like, I think what he's saying is like it could be bad for the houses going forward, especially if people don't have regular maintenance done to actually inspect that they're working. You're actually doing a disservice for the house in general, by making them mandatory.
You know what? The ones I see, or the Life Breath, the ones I usually install too. Honestly, seems like they last forever. They don't fail. They just keep on going. With little maintenance.
I just saw we were talking about this just before the show. I was telling Nate, I went to do the maintenance on an ERV for the first time in an attic that did the 2nd and 3rd floor, and the core, it was 10 years old. The core was destroyed. It was gone. It was so like completely plugged up with so much. It was like you could not clean it if you wanted to, and we had to buy. I think the core was like $500 for the core. I had to order a new core, and I showed it to him. Like, I don't know why it's this dirty. You had the filters on an ERV or an HRV, they're very thin. And I know they put like some kind of glue or something on them, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
But they're usually MERV 6 or MERV 8. So yeah, it's the maintenance thing that's usually the issue. Most homeowners are not trustworthy to maintain their equipment with any kind of regularity. And I mean, you run any equipment for 2 years without changing filters, what happens?
Yeah. You're going to run into issues. I worry about and we kind of were talking a little bit about this before too, but on the commercial side, I have a lot of customers that don't want to maintain their high efficiency systems, whether it be they added economizers or some, let's say they add an ERV or whatever, I find that customers, I almost think that they're not sold, when they're sold the high efficiency upgrade or whatever it is, I feel like they're not told what the operating expenses are going to be and the potential repair expenses. And I feel like when it comes time to repair them, they're like, wait a minute, it's going to cost me what? Like, I don't want to pay, $2,000, whatever it is to fix it when you could just turn it off and they feel like they wouldn't see the difference.
But I think like a big thing with residential is if you go to a person like Nate that you're hiring, you're seeking out somebody like that, you have troublesome areas where it's really bothering you, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, how do people come to the point themselves where like, you know what, I need to seek out a guy like Nate?
That is a good question, Nate. How does that work? How do you get on people's radar?
So for the practice that we have, Energy Smart Home Performance in Cleveland, it's basically just content marketing. I have a ton of blogs out there. I haven't touched the site in 3 years. It still gets 10,000 hits a month. So people just come to read up and they look at it and reach out. But you're absolutely correct. The people that find us are probably 1 or 2% tops. It's people that have tried to fix things and failed, probably multiple times. Those are the ones that find us. And so not that I want to totally lead over here, but the program that we're working on, HVAC 2.0, basically we developed a really good ICU for profitably and repeatably solving really complicated problems without requiring insane technical chops. So we figured that out. But the problem is we had an ICU without a hospital or a clinic attached. And so that was where, when we figured that out, we're like, crap, where do we go next? And here we are talking to you guys. So HVAC, you guys see everybody. So you're going to get the ones that are, Mrs. Smith just wants another piece of equipment. She just wants the heat to work again. Fine, single stage, whatever. Simple swap out. Or you get the ones where if they right size the equipment and put in variable speed stuff, without that constant torque motor, the X13s are usually problematic. If they just right size stuff, you right size the ducts and you probably solve most of their comfort problems.
Yeah.
But to size aggressively, you need to have some certainty of it. Because we're usually using 3-ton heat pumps. That's part of where we got to where we are. Is when we started doing load calculations. Yeah, all the time.
Wow.
We've pulled off 10 gas meters at this point.
Oh, that's why don't you tell them a little bit about electrification and like you have like a group of people that you I saw you had like a contest. I think it was last week, right? Why don't you talk about the contest? I thought that was pretty cool.
That was fun. So, sorry, did somebody else have a question too?
No, you're good.
He was just saying about heat pumps, but that was kind of leading into what I was saying is you're not running into regular base model 13 SEER heat pumps. You guys are making the choice in a lot of scenarios, and you're pulling out gas equipment and installing heat pumps to make the home more green.
It isn't even so much green usually. Like that's a bonus, but the green isn't worth anything to most people. If you put a gun to their head and say, what will you pay every month for the rest of your life to be green? You're going to be lucky to get upwards of $25 a month, which buys nothing. That's like $3,000 over 15 years. It doesn't really matter. But the way that we end up selling it is more from a comfort perspective. And so I'll take a step back and then I'll answer your contest question. So imagine that you guys want to get clean and you got 10 gallons of hot water. You got two options. I can dump a 10-gallon bucket of water over you all at once, or you can take a 5-minute shower. Which one do you want?
The bucket of water.
$5 footlongs.
All right. Somebody had to say it. So that trickle of heat or cool is the key to making things comfortable, because you're washing all the surfaces with a little bit of heat or a little bit of cool. And when you start really tuning in your load calculations, you're going to find that you're under 60,000 BTUs for most houses in most climates, and under 3 tons for like climate zone 5, which is that's Cleveland, Rochester, Chicago, Denver. 3-ton heat pumps oftentimes enough to tackle a house as it stands, particularly newer ones. So that was kind of how we got there, was a comfort thing. The green stuff oftentimes just drives me up the wall because, like I said, people just don't want to pay for it. But if you give them a bunch of reasons why this will make their house better, and it'll right size their ductwork, and the little Johnny's room won't be cold in the winter anymore. Those are the kinds of things that get people to actually go do stuff. So anyway, so that's that. And the contest was I had an energy monitor manufacturer send me 2 monitors. One I had to agree to put in my house, but the other one I said, so whoever's the next one to rip out a furnace and put in a heat pump gets one. And Robert Brearley in Portland, Oregon, ended up having to ace up his sleeve because he had somebody already scheduled to do it.
Oh, lined up.
So I haven't shipped it to him yet, but I'm going to. He'll get it. Those are fun for just. We're big on feedback loops. Anything that you can put in to just watch what's going on in the house. You don't have to do it for everyone, but you do it for a couple, and you'll learn all kinds of stuff. And energy monitors can be a really interesting one. You learn when to be freaked out and when not to be. So, like when it comes to heat pumps, I'm not really freaked out about resistance anymore. That used to terrify me. I don't really care. I did my load calc. I got my blower door. I know what their energy use is. My load calc's close enough. If they use $200 in resistance, whatever, they aren't going to care.
So I worry, and I'm probably ignorant to the fact, but we have a lot of green energy stuff here in California. In fact, there's a couple of the more progressive cities that are actually not allowing people to use gas appliances in new residential builds and different things. There's a couple different, areas. And get ready, everybody else around the country, because California starts it and it passes down the line. It'll make it down there. But I worry about the energy grid that we have here, and the rolling blackouts, and the overcrowding that we have with electrifying our houses. I just feel now, I realize with the advent of solar batteries and different things like that, that might help to bridge that issue. But what do you have to say about that, Nate? Like, I worry about that, with our power problems here.
I'm 100% with you. The grid in California makes me a bit nervous.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, what the blackouts that you just had, I mean, you were breaking 110 daytime temperatures, weren't you?
Yeah. And the blackouts, the ones that we just had, though, mainly were precautionary shutdowns because of lawsuits and different things like that. So actually, I do have to say, to be fair, I don't know if we had any this year. Last year we had rolling blackouts where they shut, but I don't know if we actually had rolling blackouts due to power demand this year. So I'm probably shooting myself in the foot with that one. But this year we were mainly shut down because of high winds, dry conditions, and fire danger. So they were precautionary, shutting everything down. So I do have to say that. And I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying, like, I fear the energy grid problem. And I feel like sometimes we implement certain things, such as those certain counties that are saying that they can't use gas appliances, so they have to go electric. I worry about that because I feel like we're implementing regulation before we figure out how we're going to, supply the energy to maintain that regulation, I guess I can say.
No, that's a fair critique. But a couple of points on that. So for retrofit, so I actually had drinks with a bunch of people that put that through in San Francisco last week.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
So I actually know most of the folks
Gotcha.
Personally. So what all they're doing for the moment, which I hope they largely stay there, is for new construction. So for new construction, it is kind of silly because you guys don't have a climate that really justifies gas appliances. I mean, you need to have 5, 6, 7,000 square foot house before you even justify a 60,000 BTU furnace. If you're running load calcs. So commercial, that might be another story, but I'm resi. Yeah. So we'll just stick to resi because I'm safe on that ground. Very few houses need more than a 2-ton heat pump, even if they're leaky.
Fair.
And you can't buy a furnace that small. And the other thing is, I mean, that we're headed the direction because renewables are now the cheapest form of energy that mankind has known ever, and they're still getting cheaper. So sooner or later, economics are going to push this anyway. So putting in infrastructure and the pipes that are going to last for 100 years and then abandoning them in 20 years is not the best way to spend the money. So fingers crossed that all works out. I definitely have the concerns about the grid, so I share that with you. And then I also, I keep mentioning to them, please don't mandate retrofits to be electric, because it's just going to cause all kinds of troubles.
Because if people
really
aren't doing load calcs and stuff, and then they do a retrofit and go electric and just throw in, they're going to run into problems. So, there's all kinds of it might be resistance, maybe. Thankfully your climate's so mild that it's not the end of the world usually. But you can burn up motors because somebody. We have an ECM from 5 years ago that's burning up right now because it doesn't have enough ductwork on it. And it's a 3-ton unit. And the bid and the spec were both for 3 tons. And when I got to the job, they had a 4-ton there. How much sooner do you think that thing would have blown up? Because it's already pulling 0.65, 0.7 with a 3-ton. So that's 1,200 CFM of flow. If we were running the full 1,600 of a 4-ton, those curves, they go vertical when you hit the wall. So it might not just be like 1.1. It could have been 1.5, 1.6, and that ECM would have died 6 months later. Right. There's a bunch of design questions that need to be taken into account. And so I'm generally talking to all my friends, all right, I understand where you're going. Feel free to set a target, 2030, 2035, something like that. You can set the target so that it starts to move things that direction. But please be very careful at putting a near-term ban. And in general, who likes bans? Nobody.
If you tell me I can't do something, what do I want to do?
Do it.
Yeah.
So be very careful. Make sure everybody's on board. So that's our feeling there. So we're pretty reasonable on that. But still, if you guys run load calcs on your resi jobs using a blower door and energy use, you'll be really surprised how low the loads come back, because we have. And so all the guys in the 2.0 group are starting to get gutsier and gutsier in sizing. So the 400 square foot a ton for AC down south, that's at least out the window, and everybody's starting to push 1,000. And we run 600 to 1,000 for heating in Cleveland.
Wow.
So 600 for retrofits, 1,000 for new. We actually had one 5,000 square foot house we helped out with. We spec'd a 3-ton, and it would have done it.
I just don't
tight,
understand
well
how,
insulated, good to go.
In Cleveland, I live in southern Michigan here, not too far from Cleveland. I just, I don't have the science to back what I'm about to say, but in my opinion, it seems like just having natural gas burning versus a heat pump running, because in a heat pump, I can only imagine in the middle of winter when it's 0 degrees out for a month here, the amount of heat you're getting it isn't comparable to the amount of gas you can burn within, say, a half hour. You can produce more BTUs from some natural gas than you could with a heat pump running nonstop.
But there's different, you have to look at there's different curves for different models, right? So and I'm not sure how deep you get. I haven't followed the exact equipment that you're using, or some of your guys that follow you are using, but I do know if you just go with a regular 13 SEER train, 3-ton, it's an awful curve, and you'll lose your capacity very quickly at a high temperature. But they have I've installed multi-split systems through Fujitsu or whatever. They have the XLTH model. I think Daikin has the MX model, and then there's different manufacturers that will also couple that with an air handler, right? Where you could actually get a not a mini duct, but an actual air handler. So the Fujitsu goes down to full heating capacity down to -15 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah. So it depends on what you're looking at. We usually use Carrier Green Speed or the equivalent Brian Evolution. There's a bunch of ICP brands, the step down model. The top of the line Carrier and Bryant's are down to about 2/3, 3/4 of capacity at 0 degrees. And that's about as good as anything is. Most 18 and 20 SEER stuff is about 50% of full output. So if you do have a lot of time below 0, that is when things start to fall apart, Bill. So to be fair. But the Cleveland climate, our design temp is 5. and we just don't spend enough time down there where it matters. Like the most aggressive one we put a 3-tonner in a house that had a legit 50,000 BTU load. Like legit, like no fudge factors, everything dialed in, still 50. And we did that because we wanted to make sure she had good dehumidification in the summertime, and she does. And so she starts to hit resistance between 20 and 25, but it just bumps underneath. And so that house is not crazy cheap to run. That's the most expensive one for the ones that we have. But she uses maybe 2,000 kilowatt hours a year of resistance backup, which is, $250 for the winter.
Even comparing like the electrical usage versus like the gas you would have used. I know in a regular furnace you still have a blower motor moving the heat, but so even with that heat pump like running nonstop through the wintertime, because it's most likely running nonstop, I can imagine that electrical load is still
variable speed.
Cheaper?
It should.
Still cheaper though?
Yes and no. So there's that. The only safe answer in the building science world is it depends. And this is one of those times. So what are your rates? So in Cleveland, we're 13 cent kilowatt hours, which is dead even for the nation. And we're 70 or 80 cents per therm for the gas, which is on the lower side, say bottom quarter. And with that, we're finding that the annual operating costs are within $200 a year, plus or minus. And if we can get rid of the gas meter, which is why we do that, the gas meter fee is $350 a year. So that will offset the cost difference. So if they need a water heater and they need HVAC, we're down to the dryer and the stove. And so if we can get those done, we're done and we get rid of their gas meter. And their operating costs are basically identical.
Do you guys have in Cleveland peak time hours as well? Because here it's not a fixed 13. It's going to be going up at certain times of the day and whatnot. That's what might eat you a little bit.
Yeah, and that totally could. So that's part of the it depends. So most of the Midwest is just a steady rate. It's this price all the time, no matter when you use it. Where so I'm south of Salinas just a little bit right now in California. So California obviously has time of use rates pretty much everywhere, and that may shift the math. So again, you have to do the math, and you can always do the belt and suspenders method and do a hybrid. But all of our hybrid clients have noted specifically that they drastically prefer the heat pump heat to the furnace heat because it's gentler and it runs longer, which is kind of wild. But it follows
that on-off sort of.
Yeah. It's the shower. It's not the 10-gallon bucket. It's the shower.
That's right.
So
go ahead.
I want to ask a question, and because I'm ignorant to this. So let's step back a little bit. When you were talking about doing a load calculation on a house, let's make this super simple for simple minds like me. Why are you going to use a blower door instead of just using, a standard load calculation based off of the design ambient temperatures?
But it's because like when you're, let me say one you tell me if you think I'm right. But in Wrightsoft, they have very few choices for how leaky your house is. No?
No, that's one piece. Yeah. It's so if you just select it in Wrightsoft, there's very leaky, average, tight, and very tight. But you don't actually know what those numbers mean.
Right.
Neil Comparetto about 2 years ago did a wonderful video showing just this on his house. So he lives Charlottesville area. My mind's blanking on the exact town in Virginia. He's got a 2,000 square foot house. His blower door is about 2,000, and his house came in solidly at a 2-ton for heating. And he actually showed it with an Ecobee thermostat because you can watch the run times, and he showed it shutting off below design. So design there's like 17. And it shut off for like a half an hour when it was 15 degrees outside. And he's got like a 2.5 ton. So when you go and you do all the homework there, you find out that there's these big variances. So what we find is if you don't have the blower door for heating load in particular, so milder climates, this isn't quite as applicable, but anywhere up north, if you don't know the blower door and you don't know the energy usage, just by playing with those, your load calc is plus or minus 70%.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
What's the
It's a
point?
little bit.
Wow.
So, like, the same house, only playing with blower door. Mark Perina ran this load on Right Soft. He came in with a heat load between 24,000 BTUs on the low side and 70 on the high, using blower doors that we see in the wild. Like, these aren't insane. It's a low side, high side, but you can see them. So if you don't know the blower door, you're kind of guessing. And then if you have blower door and energy use, you're as soon as you get, say, just energy use, you're plus or minus 30%. If you get blower door and energy use and you understand the thermostat settings, because the thermostat settings will drive your usage quite a bit, you're plus or minus 10%. So now you're plus or minus 3,000 or 5,000 BTUs. Can you guys size equipment if you know almost for a fact you're within 3,000 or 5,000?
Yeah.
Now, see, I always want, many like many other contractors. I always want to take the plunge and get the blower door and yada yada yada. It's just I always thought there was a no use going to these houses that are 30 years old or whatever with their ductwork. Who knows what's happening in their ductwork, and putting this thing on. So I figured, like, is there a point of putting on a system that's so much leakage? You know what I mean? Like, does it have value still? Will it still do what you want to do? Like, I don't explain it.
Well, I'm going to answer this right now. Yes, it has value because you're going to be giving them a big picture diagnosis.
Yeah.
Ooh,
He's always
snap.
trying to throw it in there.
There we go.
Ka-ching.
Well, if
They
they're
don't have to take the big picture repair, but at least you gave them a big picture diagnosis.
once again though, if they're calling you for a blower door test, unless you're recommending it, if they're calling you, they want to figure something out.
True.
Yeah, for that aspect, yes. But sometimes, sorry, Nate, I'll let you answer in a minute.
No, it
The
won't.
thing is, sometimes, like, you know what? I may want to use that with a new install, but I'm putting this new install and they have this ductwork that's all hidden, all finished, basement, all finished, whatever. And who knows what's going on in that ductwork. So that's where I'm at.
Or
Is it still worth it?
what about, like, kind of segueing with trailing off what Joe said? I have a 120-year-old house that currently has a boiler system in it, and I want to switch it over to forced air. So I can only imagine, like, putting a blower door on this, like, testing this whole house. It's probably the leakiest house ever. So in that situation, like, would you even bother with it?
So two things. Joe, I want to touch on something. I think you might be mixing up the duct blaster and the blower door. The duct blaster measures duct leakage.
Okay.
And this is whole house leakage. So I don't know if
Gotcha.
that's for sure, but so that's that piece. And Bill, so even if you're still in furnace territory, which a leaky house like yours likely still is, so going back to the shower versus the bucket analogy,
Mm-hmm.
if you could put a 60,000 mod instead of an 80,000 mod in, which one's going to run more and keep your house more comfortable?
The 60,000?
Question,
Yeah.
neither one.
Um,
It's going to
Yeah.
run longer
So,
and give you more
and-
even, comfortable temperatures, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that 5-minute shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, within reason. I mean, if you have a room that's crazy leaky, I mean, it all comes down to the load per square foot in whatever room. So, I mean, if you have a room that's in good shape that only needs 10 BTUs per square foot per hour, that's pretty good. That's a low number for a cold climate. Ugly is 20 to 25. So say you have a room that needs that 20. If you've got one room that needs 10 and the other one that needs 20, you really can't HVAC that problem away unless you run twice the air to that room that's running cold. So you can't HVAC that away. That needs to be sealed or insulated to really fix it. But regardless, if you can size down, I mean, normally what I see is somebody will run a manual J and it'll come in at 65,000. Manual J's basically have 3 fudge factors in them. They have a fudge factor assuming the equipment won't perform the spec. They have a fudge factor in them assuming that the ductwork or the distribution system won't perform the spec. And they have a third fudge factor just in case the first 2 aren't enough. So in running a bunch of these, I come back with a manual J of 65. The real load is 30, 35, maybe 40. So you get a manual J that comes in at 65, and you're like, well, Mrs. Jones, we should probably be safe if you put the 80 in. And you just doubled what that house actually needs. So the key thing you want to avoid is when it's 5 degrees out or 0 degrees out, you don't want a phone call coming from somebody saying, hey, my house is 60 degrees and the furnace is running the whole time. You don't want that. That's risky because then you're going to have to go change that dumb thing on a day when you should be making boku bucks, not losing your butt. So if you have some certainty of the calculation, everybody's happier. The client's more comfortable. You can oftentimes upgrade them to a nicer piece of equipment, make a little more margin. It's sweetness for everyone.
So what would you say to if there's like guys out there that are considering, because there's a lot of guys that buy very nice tools or companies, one-man shops or whatever. What would you say to somebody thinking about getting into like learning about blower door? How would someone go about doing that to take the next step? And once they did that, how could your 2.0 be beneficial to move their business in a different direction?
Thank you for the softball. For starters, go learn.
But how though? Like that's the thing.
Learn.
Like how? Like what do you do?
Yeah.
Like that's my question. Because I've considered like Joe. Joe brought this up. He was thinking about it. It's been something I really want, but it's like, do I really need it? Like maybe there's jobs where I have done customers a disservice because I don't totally understand the load or how everything is working as a house. But like I'd love to do it. But I just want to make sure I'm not wasting my money, and I want it to be beneficial because it's a very expensive tool, Yeah. They're $4,000. It's not, some little pesto probe. Well, for real, for starters, like understanding and wrapping your head around it is really important. So I wrote a book called the Home Comfort Book, and most of it is available for free. So you can go read that and kind of get your head around. Like the tagline for 2.0 is beyond the box, because we're looking at the house box, not just the HVAC box. The more you can learn to get comfortable is good. Join the 2.0 advanced discussion group and just lurk for a while and get comfortable. And once you're feeling like, okay, this is a direction that I might want to go, because it isn't for everybody. It really isn't. Once you're thinking that that's the way to go, if you can borrow a blower door, like a lot of community colleges actually have them that you can borrow. So particularly Chicagoland area. So Adam, you'd be set. There's lots there. Call an energy auditor in your area and pay them a couple $100 to go with you. If you're learning, it's a couple $100 to see if this is something that's of interest. You might try that sort of thing. So this is what we're trying to figure out right now in 2.0 is finding the baby steps. Is it fully committing to all this stuff? It's like climbing a big hill, and all the steps in the hill right now are like 6 foot tall. So we're trying to turn everything into 7-11 steps. So they're nice and easy to go up. So the next step beyond that is the software that we're developing, and it's not really software. It's the HVAC 2.0 process. This is how you sell things without ever actually selling anything. Like if you ever feel like you're selling using the system, you're doing something wrong. So it's usually really good for more technically minded people that don't really enjoy selling, which strikes me, you guys are. You can play with the software, which helps keep you on the process, and go out and run what we call a comfort consult. So it's a blower door test. It's a really thorough interview of the client about things that bother them about their house. One of the guys recently did that. Tanner Dickerson is his name. And he ran one for his buddy's dad. And he's like, you got to stop asking these questions. You're making me think about stuff that bothers my house I've never even thought of. Like, stop it. But that's what you want, because if you're going to sell a nice piece of equipment, you need to build the value up to where it's worth more money to solve those problems than it costs
to buy and install that piece of equipment or do whatever job the house needs. It's all a value building exercise at the end of the day. So if you just go in and you can use the software, those steps for free, and give it a shot. And if you can borrow a blower door or rent a blower door, go try it. And then ask questions in the group and go from there. But the free side, obviously, there's no support aside from the group. And then if you join and you actually use the software and pay every month, we have weekly meetings every Monday, not entirely unlike what you guys do. And then we have a higher Facebook group as well, where we can help out with the more advanced questions, because there's all kinds of weird pickles, as you guys know, that come out of this. Like Michael Hausch right now is on a job with a GC, so he has no control, which is driving him up the wall. So he was called in by the homeowner to do the HVAC, but then the GC is cheaping out on everything, and it's driving him nuts. So we've been discussing how do we try and do that and make sure that he is not taking responsibility for something that he can't control. So we don't want him getting callback on something that was not his fault in any way, shape, or form. And so we spend a lot of time in the system doing what we call responsibly avoiding responsibility. But don't own stuff if you don't have to.
It seems kind of silly to bring in a guy like Michael Hausch to do the HVAC and then let the GC dictate kind of the final product.
They want to make money.
That sounds like a disaster.
Yeah, it sounds bonkers, man.
Yeah. But I imagine that's what a lot of people have to deal with. So I imagine a lot of the people going in and doing these, would it be fair to say energy audits, right?
Yeah, that's the comfort consult's basically the first half of an energy audit.
Okay.
So it's the HVAC side, it's not the shell side. Yeah.
So how much, I mean, when you're going into these houses, or the other people that you know of are going into these houses, how much of it is how many times do you go in and say, we actually don't need to do anything about your HVAC system, we just need to upgrade this? I mean, does that really happen, or are you usually having to upgrade the insulation and that kind of stuff and then saying, you know what, now your system's massively oversized, so then they have to change the system too? Or do you ever go in and just do just the insulation or whatever?
So the beautiful thing about the comfort consult is it's a go, no go for that question.
Got it.
Like if you go in and say, Bill, we test your house, and we like to think in spectrums and ratios. So a blower door where the blower door reading is equal to the square footage. So Bill, how many square feet is your house?
Roughly 2,100.
Okay. So if your blower door was about a 2,000 or 2,100, that's pretty good. That's like a C+. So it's not amazing, but that's oftentimes enough where HVAC alone can fix things. Where the odds are we'd test your house and it would be a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1 ratio. So you'd have a 4,000 or 6,000 blower door. Until you test the house to know what that is, you don't really know which direction is the correct direction. So think of the comfort consult like a physical from the doctor, where there's a couple of blood tests and turn your head and cough, and you find out if you need to do more diagnostics, or if you just need to change your diet because you're a fat ass like me.
Me too.
Let's get back to this turn your head and cough part.
Yeah.
What was that about the curiosity again?
What part of the comfort consult
you're worrying me.
Yeah.
With this consultation here, I guess you guys go in with a highly, like, I don't know, I guess infrared camera. Like, this is all Chinese to me, but like an infrared camera and all this shebang, or how does it work? Like, what's all the consult deal with? Like, what does it consist of?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So for starters, I should talk about what the requirements are to be able to do one.
Okay.
And there's 3 of them. First, you need to be reasonable with other human beings.
Oh, absolutely.
Second,
absolutely.
So Joe, I think you're out.
Well,
gotta be careful, man. Joe's gonna get his mafia friends on you, so you gotta be careful.
Well, good. This could be the beginning.
Door.
That's fine.
You just made the list.
Yeah. Oh, you're on the list.
Thankfully, you don't know where I am for a while. But anyway, you have to be decent with other human beings.
Yeah.
You need to know how to run a blower door, which all of you guys are technically oriented. You can learn how to do that in 1 or 2 hours. And then you'll need to go set it up a couple times and screw it up to figure out what the problems are. Like, I don't know why I'm coming up with this, but, having a 200,000 BTU boiler turn on while it's running and shoot flames 2 feet sideways. I don't know why I'm using that as a for instance, except for that was my old house. And the first time I put it up, wasn't thinking about, I didn't know HVAC. I was an installation guy. So running a blower door is the second thing, and that's easy. And the third thing is being able to follow a script.
Got it.
That's it.
Okay.
So pretty low requirements. We're aiming for this program to be mostly doable by entry-level talent, because you need to have something that you can send the newbies out and have them be useful. But once you're there, it's pretty simple, Joe. So you ask a whole bunch of questions. Well, first you give them a little spiel, because there's one spouse that's excited that you're there, and the other spouse is there because you told them they had to be. So the reluctant spouse, you have to bring up to some kind of speed. So education-wise, there's a lowest common denominator. And then you ask them about an hour and a half worth of questions, which is kind of crazy, but they're all in there for a reason, because I got bit for not asking one or the other going through all the projects we've done. Then you do a blower door test, and you do infrared most of the time if the weather permits. And then you do kind of a fun test. It's called zonal diagnostics. And it's really pretty simple. When you have the blower door up, you throw a hose underneath the door of any room where the door closes, and it'll tell you how connected to outside that room is.
Okay.
So, like, you may check the basement and find that it's 20% connected to outdoors. That's bad.
Gotcha.
Or like 1.5 story houses, the second floor is routinely half connected to outdoors by pressure. You can't HVAC that away. It just won't work. You can't solve that problem. So it helps you go, no go, the whole thing. And you'll come out the other side. Then you'll ask the clients for what their goals are, and you have them prioritize all the goals on a scale of 1 to 10. From 1, I don't care, to 10, I don't care how much it costs, fix it now. And then once you extract all those goals and rank them, so you're figuring out what bothers them, what's the pain, what do they want to fix in their house. Then you ask them, all right, so if you were renting this house, how much more in rent would you pay every month to make all those things go away? And now you know what it's worth to solve, not necessarily what it will cost to solve, because those are different. So you know the value, not the cost. And then you can help them understand, do they have champagne taste on a beer budget, or are they ready for some really expensive champaign? Can you fix it or not?
Now,
and so by lining all those things up, you're good. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, now, is this a customer that was coming to you to fix a problem, or a customer that wants to change out a new unit? Maybe this is what I would try to do, is try to work it in before I install the new unit, if to see what their problems were in the past unit, if they did have problems.
That's a really key question. So that's the interface that we're smoothing out right now. But I think this will probably work best for the service techs, because if you're there and the system's 16 years old and you're changing a couple of parts, that thing's getting towards the end of its life. Right. So I usually use the analogy of, it's like a car with 200,000 miles. Yeah, it's a Honda, but it could die next week, or it may make it to 300,000. I don't know. But either way, it's probably smart to at least decide what you want to buy, so that if you have to, you don't have to go through all that screwing around. So I suspect service techs are going to drive a lot of this. They also have trust, where a sales guy does not, in general.
Very true.
White shirts don't have the same trust that blue shirts bring.
It's true.
So that'll be good. But also, when somebody calls in for a replacement, just a lead, what we do is give them the option of, you can do a free quote, and we'll come out and we'll quote you to replace what you have like for like. If you have a specification, we will bid to that, but we won't create a specification for you. So this avoids all the stupid back and forth free consulting that we all do on free quotes. Because if they come up like, well, what about this and what about this, and should I do this size? And my neighbor talked to me about this. Should I do that? Now you have a path to offer them. It's like, so I'd be more than happy to help you with that. But from experience, if we don't collect the right information and try and pull all these things together, the odds of making a bad choice are pretty high. So we like to do these comfort consults. And is
it's
this
like
something
the
that
super nice way of just saying, shut up and let me do what I have to do, you stupid, stupid person.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right.
There's a lot of truth to that, frankly.
Yeah, I
imagine.
It'll save you the runaround. And that's also where you avoid the responsibility. So we're huge on offer to client. So always give them options and pro and con the different options, and then let them choose. Do you own that decision once they make it? No, they do.
Yeah.
So if that comes to a lousy result, say Mrs. Smith turns down the comfort consult and then calls to complain later because her house is still uncomfortable. It's like, oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Would you like to, go back to the comfort consult that we offered? And if they're like, well, you didn't offer that, we're setting the system up so that it will be offered multiple times via email, so it's traceable.
Mm-hmm.
And so they really can't back out of that stuff.
That's a good idea.
Because all of us in the trades, we take more crap than we deserve. We take responsibility for stuff that we really don't deserve. And that sucks. So we're trying to share the responsibility very equitably. And like, was it Bill Spohn coined this? I thought it was great. He said, so you're talking about responsibly avoiding responsibility. Like, yeah, that's exactly it. So if they choose the free quote path, like, you own it, dude. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll put in whatever you want. You tell me what you want, I'll put it in. And I'll put it in where it works and it's well installed. But, if the system is the wrong system for your house, not my problem.
That's kind of interesting, like offering different types of quotes to people. You know what I mean? That's like I've never thought of doing something like that. But it's
like, how invasive do you want this to get?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I've wanted, related, unrelated, what I've always wanted to do on estimates for a job, or if you're at a service call and it's maybe going to turn into an estimate, is kind of test the airflow. Like, I'm set up, like, I've done it a million times, but people don't like that you're drilling in their ductwork. But I would love to traverse the return drop and check what the airflow is, and then check the static pressure on the return and the supply to see what can this puppy handle. What are we able to do with this duct system in the beginning? Because you could measure it and the trunk lines could look okay, but you don't have enough branch runs, or they were eliminated, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out. So ESP is something that's not required, but a good idea to do in a comfort consult. But we're trying to decide if we want to put that in the free quote, because it doesn't take that long to do that. 10 or 15 minutes, and you can at least pull ESP. I don't measure airflow very often. Adam, how long do you think you need?
With drilling the holes and pulling the tool out, you're
wow.
probably like, if you have it with you when you walk downstairs, 5 minutes. No more. If you're doing it 10 minutes while talking to the customer, I don't know.
And usually there's holes you could find, dude, in the right areas.
Well, if you like, I have a hot wire anemometer, so you need to,
Gotcha.
actually measure out, and there's like multipliers to where you should drill your holes to test airflow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But we're thinking that on free quotes, if you do that as part of the free quote, I mean, if you drill holes and you find out that the static's 1.2, that's the wrong piece of equipment. It's too big. Maybe the taps are set wrong, but if you're over an inch of static, good luck fixing taps and getting that anywhere close to 0.5 again. Like, it's not likely. So that would be actually a really good reason to give a client a nudge towards a comfort consult. Because you don't want to go, if they got, say, a 100,000 BTU furnace where you could change that to a 3-ton heat pump on top of a 60K mod, or maybe even the 3-ton heat pump. You don't want to do that unless you collect enough numbers to know that you're not getting a phone call when it's a design day.
That makes a lot of sense.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So these are all we're trying to figure this out, and we're pretty early. And I'll do just a minor pitch, but like I said, the software is free right now, so you can get in and look at everything and go run a consult. But there's no support. You can pay for a report, which is $25 to get the PDF, or you can join with a monthly fee. And so we're looking to add another 50 right now to polish it and start getting it better, because we're still early. Oh, there we go. That's why I brought 2 lights. It's starting to blink. It's running low.
Can you?
That's good. I brought 2.
Nice.
Should have brought your solar powered flashlight.
There you go.
Sorry, Nate, I want to cut you off. Before you go on, is there somewhere I could put in chat so if people are interested, they could take a look? Like, what can I put in chat or look up for this? Like a link or something?
Yeah, HVAC20.com.
Okay.
And then right at the top of the page, there's an early adopters link. Just click that, and you'll get to see what some of the early guys are saying and a video. So thank you guys, because we're curious to see where all this goes. Like I said, it's still early, so don't expect a well-polished machine. We're not there yet. The process is very effective, but some of the details are not fully fleshed yet. Got it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's grab my other light here.
I mean, this stuff is completely fascinating to me. I don't know. I'm not sure the rest of the other 3 of these guys, but like, I am just like, I feel like a lot of the houses are oversized. And you know what? We were talking about this 2 weeks ago with a job that I just finished, was working on for 5 years because they ran out of money. They didn't pay me for over a year what they owed, and it was like a big deal. And so literally they finally paid. It was a good chunk of money. And they said, we want you to start up the equipment. I went over there and like connected a few flue pipes and hooked up the thermostat wire, and it was fine. They went for a year and a half or whatever without heat. But anyway, I was nervous on that one because I did a manual J, and it was a pretty big house. And we ended up putting 3 40,000 BTU furnaces in. There's 3 different zones. We couldn't run ductware everywhere. And it's a 2-stage. And I didn't even know about the Ecobee reports until I was part of your group and I was following some of the posts. So I created an account. They don't even know I have access to their account, but I'm logged into their Ecobee account, and like the furnaces never hit 2nd stage. Like, they have not hit 2nd stage yet, I mean, granted, we're not that cold, but it's like they're cycling, they're satisfying. And I was shocked by it,
Interesting. I didn't ask, what heat pumps do you guys recommend, or did I miss this? I never got that.
You said the Carrier Greenspeed, most popular in the Bryant Evolution series. Isn't that what you said, Nate?
Yep. Yeah, those are the same piece of equipment. It's like a Chevy and a GMC.
Gotcha.
Those ones, to some degree, it's a Ford and Chevy argument, but we like those because, like, being a non-tech, I can see a lot of what the system's doing without having to gauge up or do anything like that. So it'll show me what the static is, and it's fairly accurate. It'll show me how much power it's pulling for different fan speeds. It'll show me how much power it's pulling in whatever stage it's in. You can see how much energy all the different pieces are using. So what the heat pump's using, what the air conditioner is using, what the furnace is using, if you do a hybrid, what the fan is using, reheat, dehumidification. Like, there, you can see just a bunch of stuff. So it takes a lot of the fear out of what you're doing. And then they also have reheat, dehumidification, which, again, you start measuring stuff and things really mess with your head. So we have 40 Fubot air quality monitors out in the field. And we started watching humidity get out of control, and then TVOCs, which are driven by humidity, getting out of control. And we had no freaking way to deal with it. And I had heard of this reheat thing, But I called into the distributor in my area to learn how to turn it on, and the guy's like, "What's reheat?"
Now, well, because that's fascinating. That's pretty cool. It has a reheat. Now, they using reheat. I'm assuming that's you're using your condenser reheat. So do you got another line going to this? Like, I don't like you're using discharge, right?
This is actually
condenser, or it's electric. Like,
no, this is electric reheat, which seems scary at first, but again, because you can track the energy usage. We're seeing people use between $20 and $70 a year in reheat. And like if you could track a dehumidifier in a basement in most of our climates, you're going to be looking at probably $20, $30, $40 a month in electricity just for running a dehu. And that's a month, and we're seeing 20 to 70 a year. So it's just not that scary when you actually look at the numbers.
I think that's awesome. Has a dehumidification. I would love to have discharge dehumidification. That would be really cool. I don't think I've seen. Yeah, that would be awesome. But obviously, the systems we put in dehumidification systems, yes, obviously you're gonna have a reheat coil. But for a residential unit to have that would be awesome. I think didn't Lennox have something like that?
Lennox, Humiditrol, which is hot gas. They're the only residential.
Okay.
And
they use the Humiditrol on the commercial side too.
Oh, cool.
On Linux package units, you can get the Humiditrol. I know that because I've installed one for a random reason, but yeah.
That's awesome.
Interesting.
Random.
So yeah, those exist, and then Train also has reheat, but you have to pay like $300 or $600 extra for the stat, which is stupid. That's highway robbery that they're doing that. The Honeywell 8000 does it. The Honeywell IAQ also has reheat. But again, you have to use a heat pump with strip heat backup, and things can get messy. The nice thing with Carrier is everything's really, really well integrated, but it's still not perfect. Like it'll still let things get a little out of control early in the morning. And we've also watched when it's shoulder season. So say it's 60 or 65 degrees outside, so you're pushing needing heating. Sometimes if the client switches at the heating mode, humidity will get out of control. It has to be in cooling mode to activate the reheat. So it's not perfect. I mean, if you want perfect humidity control, it's a ventilating dehu. That's pretty much the option.
Yeah, cool. I think that's awesome.
I'd agree.
So,
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
yeah,
I think we're getting to the point where we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, we could go on forever with you, Nate.
Yeah,
it's been interesting. It's been pretty cool.
It is very interesting. I am intrigued by the HVAC 2.0 idea, the concept that you guys are working on. I think that it would be beneficial. I think that giving people the ability to sell those energy efficiency upgrades, or taking care, looking at the big picture, really. I mean, instead of just going in there with a unit replacement, I think
this guy, he's like on he took one of these marketing classes or whatever, anytime he could talk about the big picture, he's always bringing it up.
Got it. Did you guys happen to see that major
it's worse than a timeshare.
Right here. My lawyers got to get involved. The news, you guys stole my catchphrase. Look at the big picture when hiring a plumber. Like, I got it. I'm pissed.
Can you believe the irony in it too? It says plumber. That's like
right in the gut.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Imagine being a plumber and be like looking at the big picture. Yeah, plumbers don't really need to look at the big picture. Right?
Well, let's
big turds.
Shit roll downhill. Like that's
Hey, you just turn your head like, it's going that way.
You're being pretty insulting, Chris.
Yeah,
there's three things you need to know about being a plumber.
Here it comes.
Okay, sorry.
Shit rolls downhill.
Got it.
Payday's Friday, and don't chew your fingernails. So they have quite a bit more responsibility than what you're putting out there.
Guys, don't listen to these guys. Plumbers out there, we love you, man.
Yeah, no, we're just busting your balls right now. Right on. Well, Nate, it's been awesome, man. Thank you so very much for coming on here. Is there anything that you want to cover? I think, did we plug everything that you wanted to plug? Well, you didn't ask us to plug in. I guess I should be fair with that. But I mean, is there anything else that you wanted us to touch on?
Yeah. Two websites that are worth mentioning in case somebody wants to go just kind of read up. So if you go to EnergySmartOhio.com, you can see the case studies of the advanced projects that we've done, where it's full shell and insulation. And those are a very small part of 2.0. That's an important point to note is you can go into any house, no matter how screwed up it is, and know that that system will get you to a successful conclusion. So you can, basically jump off the cliff, not sure if your parachute's going to open, and it will open. We can help you through all that. Most houses are not going to need that. But anyway, EnergySmartOhio.com, you can go see what those jump off a cliff projects look like. And it did feel that way doing them. And then the other one is if you want to read pieces of the Home Comfort book, and particularly HVAC 101, which is the second chapter, that compares the HVAC in a car to the HVAC in a house, and houses suck in comparison. And since homeowners naturally understand how those work, if you help them understand what the differences are, they end up buying better stuff. So it's a piece of education that doesn't feel like selling at all. So that's foundational to the system that we're doing is HVAC 101. So, and that lives at Nate the House Whisperer.
Yeah, I'm going to post that right now.
Okay, cool.
Very cool.
So it's just all educational stuff. So go learn, join the 2.0 advanced discussion group, hang out, and if it all looks interesting, sign up for the software. It's free. You'll get a whole bunch of stuff when you do that, bringing you up to speed, stuff to go learn, because it is a mindset shift. I won't use the 4-letter word, but it's definitely a mind you know what. And so you come out the other side of it, and you'll know if it's for you or not, because it is a red pill, blue pill thing. So go into it with your eyes open.
I want to say one last thing. The reason why I started following you was just because I saw Steve Raridan, somehow brought HVAC 2.0 up in some group, and I'm always fascinated by the technology that he's like the guy who has always showed me what I want to aspire to be. So he was interested in it, He's the reason why I found half the tools that I have, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's how I found you, and I'm fascinated by it. I need to keep reading up and learning because I'm interested,
Cool.
But anyway, Joe.
Yeah, it's all Chinese to me. I'm very interested. I'm still getting things mixed up, but I love it and I want to read it into it. I'll be reading it more into it, and it's going to be interesting. I think it's a new challenge, right? It's another challenge, and I'm up for challenges.
So we all voted, Joe, and you get to close out the show. So go ahead and close out.
I'm boring. Don't let me close. I'm so boring.
It's your responsibility.
Boring.
It's not my responsibility.
We're just going to sit here awkwardly.
Yeah. They're just going to sit here awkwardly. Everybody's awkward because Joe's afraid to close out the show.
Yeah.
So, Nate, the only heat pumps I know of are the ones in condominiums. And I'll keep on talking about stuff.
Dumbass.
Okay. Go for round 2. I can sit here and look interested.
Although I would think the big dehumidifications are glorified heat pumps if you want to talk about that. But
all I know is I live in Michigan and I've only touched 3 heat pumps. It's mind-blowing that they use them as much as they do down in Ohio.
Are you serious? Not going to close out the show, Joe?
No, I want to stay here forever.
That's why I thought we were doing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I need to go eat my dinner, Joe. Come on.
No, you're staying here.
I've left the show before. I'll just get up and walk out of the room, and then you'll have a blank square.
Mm-hmm. Give us some life advice before you go, Joe. What have you learned since you've been in that Nickelback cover band?
Hey, how's your YouTube numbers going on that Nylog video, Joe? Or that?
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, that TXV video.
Yeah. The
oh
TXV
my
video.
God!
Have you guys seen Joe's video on how to change a TXV? It's great.
Guys,
what's the name of your channel again, Joe?
There's an individual that looks like me.
Dan Noonian
lives in Canada.
Don't say the name.
He's like around the corner from you. I think
That's what he says.
I think he's your
And he
cousin.
says he's also licensed. When I highly doubt, I would love to see his credentials.
Dude.
I mean,
This is slander, and I don't appreciate it.
What?
Wow!